Hey there folks, hope your botanising's going well. Sometimes you want to make a video because you don't really understand something very well. And we can all improve, I'm sure we know that, and me especially. And I've decided I'm going to try and improve this group at least. The beautiful mistletoes. And I'm still very vague on them. I tend to overlook them a fair bit. I tend to not spend a lot of time trying to figure out what they are. I'm looking at the eucalypts, but I don't tend to spend a lot of time looking at the mistletoes. And what we're hearing about them a lot lately is they're very ecologically important. And they've sort of had a renewed sort of interest in the last, I'd say sort of 5 or 10 years in ecology, with New South Wales government, local land services, ecological consultants as well. We worry about the mistletoe bird, sort of moving them around and having enough sort of habitat resource to exist on. And they're just a group I haven't got to know very well, even though I've heard some really good presentations on them. And I decided to, let's try and make a video where I don't really know and understand them all that well, and I'll learn as I go along. I'm on this site in Dural. Look, it's just a little site inspection. It's an old olive orchard and it's a proposed subdivision. It's sort of mid-October 2025. It's a pretty warm day here today. And this mistletoe is growing on an olive, and it's not the only one. There's another one over here growing on an olive tree as well. So I'm just going to document that as part of the investigation. But, because it's not that high, what a beautiful example to make. And I think I've figured out, hopefully nice and safely, this is the one called Dendrophthoe. Probably be the best way to pronounce it, although that might not be doing it justice in its original language. But we've got dendro in there, which means tree. And then we've got sort of a PHTHOE at the end. Dendrophthoe is how I've heard some people pronounce it. It probably means something like tree living or tree existing or tree habituating or something like that. I haven't looked it up, but I'm going to assume that's what it means. It's not the typical one we find called Amiema. That's another big genus in the Loranthaceae. Just a correction there, that suffix on the dendro, that PHTHOE, it actually refers to shriveling of organic material in ancient Greek. And what it's referring to is the mistletoe causing the host to sort of shrivel up. I don't like that name because I don't like the idea of mistletoes being massively harmful or significantly harmful to their hosts. But that's what Dendrophthoe means. It's sort of the shriveling up of the host plant due to its presence. So whether that's a useful name or not, that's what we're stuck with. But I'm pretty sure this one will be good for Dendrophthoe. And this is Dendrophthoe vitellina. There's only two Dendrophthoes in New South Wales, and one of them's a more northern one. This is the one you commonly get in Sydney. On this side, it's shale soil, and there's some big black butts over there, remnant, and there's also some big paniculatas, and they extend to a bushland patch down the back there around a dam on very heavy shale soil. A lot of these olives aren't doing too well. It's sort of been abandoned, I think, but to get this growing on an olive is pretty cool, I think. Dendrophthoe vitellina, it's also known for having these runners, these sort of external running stems going along the branches there, where if you look at Amiema, the genus Amiema, most of them have a really chunky, what we call hostorium, where the mistletoe connects to the host. And it sort of has a big chunky hostorium. But Dendrophthoe is known for having these runners which go along the stem. And they're all hooking in there, and they're all hooking in at their own little sort of nodules, or maybe they're called hostoria as well. It sort of links to German for house, is my understanding, where the mistletoe latches on and just makes a modified bulbous sort of, attachment system to get into the olive branch there. Dendrophthoe are known for having opposite leaves to begin with, but then they soon get displaced and go alternate. So you can have a plant which has opposite leaves, but then they go sort of displaced opposite and then alternate. So most of these guys are looking pretty alternate. I think the leaves can be up to 16 centimetres long, and I think I read about something like 4 centimetres wide, something like that, 16 by 4. I think I see this guy most of the time with leaves about, I don't know, up to 10 centimetres and maybe a few centimetres wide, like that one there. They're very leathery. They've got a very leathery feel. And sometimes the venation can be obvious, or it can be more obscure, is sort of what's put in the descriptions. They've got a genuine petiole as well. A nice leathery feel. Yeah, sort of almost a fleshy texture as well, a leathery sort of fleshy texture. If I have a smell of the leaves, I've never done this with mistletoe really. Yeah, I'm not getting much there. Maybe a little bit of a sort of vegetable smell maybe, something like virgin on cabbage perhaps, but I'm not getting too much with the smell there. Oh, just get the leaves out of my collar. And then, of course, it's very noticeable because of these beautiful flowers. I've caught it in full cry. I'm really lucky. And what it says about the inflorescences is they can be in up to clusters of 20. And just dipping back, when you look at the inflorescences of Amiema, they're normally in these beautiful threes. These are arrangements of threes, what they call triads. But Dendrophthoe, they're just known to be in these clusters of up to 20, these sort of racemes of up to 20. Each flower, it's pretty much fused into a tube. It's got 5 petals. And apparently, if you see 5 petals, then you're meant to have 5 stamens as well. I'll rearrange this and try and get it in focus. Flowers up to about 5 centimetres long, fused into a tube, beautiful yellow-orange colour. And then there's 5 stamens there, and sometimes the petals are uneven. They're unevenly distributed, or sort of they can be of uneven shape and size, they say about the petals. And they talk about the tube being inflated in the middle. And I'm just going to rearrange my hands here. They talk about the tube being unevenly inflated. So maybe fatter at some parts and skinnier at the others. Just try and see if we can zoom in on the stamens here. It's going to be a bit difficult to rearrange. Yeah, maybe there's 5 stamens there, and then there's the one carpel there sticking out on the left. So that's what we get in, I think that's common across most of the mistletoes. 4 to 6 Maris flowers, the stamens equal the number of petals. And then there's one carpel, as far as I've been able to deep dive so far, and I'll call that a shallow dive at the moment. But they're certainly beautiful. We'll just look at another cluster. I don't want to rob this plant too much because we got to think about those mistletoe birds. And I'm not sure that this orchard is definitely marked for clearing at the moment. But I'm going to make people aware of these mistletoes anyway. Should be a good thing to do. I'm just getting myself confused here. I'm grabbing another cluster off, but I think I might have grabbed 2. And you can see they're just in a random array of numbers. This one's got 6 or so, and this one's got maybe 6 or 7. And apparently they can have up to 20. It's sort of like a bunch of bananas, isn't it, a little bit? If we just make some nice easy links, it's got a bit of a bunch banana thing going on there. And I think I'm on full zoom at the moment. Yeah, there's our beautiful petals. They're just meant to be a bit uneven, not fully either symmetrical or what we might call equal. Beautiful nonetheless. So that's an easy one to learn, Dendrophthoe vitellina. It tends to have this look to it most of the time. Do look for the runners. It's got a pretty big, mainly coastal range. It kicks off about Bateman's Bay area in New South Wales to the south, sort of around Bateman's Bay, a bit further south, and then it comes up to Sydney. It goes sort of up into it doesn't even get up into the Blue Mountains, so maybe it's too cold for it. It gets up there into about maybe Richmond, maybe the lower Blue Mountains. And then it goes into the Hunter Valley and it does get up there around Armidale, Tamworth area, a bit further west. And then it goes up into Queensland where it's all coastal, a bit patchy. It gets out to Carnarvon National Park and some areas out that far west further north. And then it goes right up to Cape York Peninsula. It's right up on the tip of the Cape York. There's some records up there. And it doesn't look like it gets into New Guinea as far as I can tell, but it goes right up to the Cape York Peninsula. So that's the extent of it. That's a pretty big range. Maybe the leaves are bigger the further north you go. But that's a pretty big range for any plant, but a good range for mistletoe. Sorry folks, what I missed is there's a disjunct patch in eastern Victoria. It's a very disjunct patch. It's separate to the southern limit at Bateman's Bay in New South Wales. It's just in the East Gippsland area there, and it's critically endangered. It's critically endangered in Victoria due to that isolated patch. That's the only patch in Victoria. I'm not sure if there's sort of subpopulations there, but it's critically endangered in Victoria, just in that East Gippsland area. So I just missed that little patch of records as I was looking it up. So I just thought I'd start getting into them and start trying to learn them as best as I can. I basically knew nothing about it. Just one of those ones I've heard a lot and maybe I can give sort of a lazy ID to sometimes, but couldn't pass this one. It was just too opportunistic to have a look at. Remember the fruit will be a berry, and that's spread by the mistletoe bird. I can't see the berry at this stage anywhere. In this species, the berry's about 10 to 15 mil wide, and it's yellow-red. A nice succulent berry. I didn't talk about the calyx of the flower. That's, assuming that's just this little bit down the bottom here, which can be lobed. Just have a look at it. Hard to zoom in on. Yeah, that must be the calyx down there, I guess. So the calyx has sort of been reduced to just a sort of cup there at the bottom on top of the pedicel. And our beautiful flower there again. Yeah, you can see those 5 stamens clearly and the carpel there. So that's a beautiful, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Dendrophthoe vitellina. But beautiful things to look out for, mistletoes. And there are some people who, in Australian Plant Society, for example, who enthusiastically try and propagate them through their garden. It takes a lot of effort, but they try and get the seeds and stick them to the shrubs and see if they can get them to take. So they're well worth having to increase biodiversity values. And I'll definitely make a note of these ones.